TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations. Shalom and good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, Palestinian Islamists fire a barrage of rockets from the Gaza Strip towards Israel's southern communities, prompting a series of Israeli retaliatory strikes against Hamas militant installations. The U.S. State Department released its annual country report on terrorism for 2018, in which, as it has been since 1984, the Islamic Republic of Iran retained its standing as the world's worst state sponsor of terrorism. The Islamic Republic Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei declares that he will not lift his ban on negotiations with the United States, describing the two countries as implacable foes. Palestinian Islamists fired a barrage of rockets from the Gaza Strip towards Israel's southern communities over the weekend. 10 launches were identified crossing the Islamist Hamas-controlled territory into the western Negev region of the Jewish state shortly after 9 p.m. on Friday evening. 8 of the incoming projectiles were immediately intercepted by the Iron Dome anti-rocket defense system, whereas one rocket scored a direct hit on a private house in the Israeli city of Sderot. While extensive property damage was caused, thankfully, the family living there entered their home's bomb shelter before the rocket's impact and emerged without injury. Several hours later, the IDF conducted retaliatory strikes against terror installations in the Gaza Strip. According to the IDF spokesperson's unit, Israeli Air Force fighter jets struck a wide range of Hamas terror targets throughout the Palestinian Strip, including numerous military installations in the southern and central districts of the terror-plagued enclave. In its statement, the IDF underscored that it views the rocket attacks targeting Israeli territory with great severity and is prepared to continue operating as necessary against attempts to harm Israeli civilians. Furthermore, in spite of the fact that it is widely believed that the Palestinian Iranian proxy Islamic Jihad was responsible for the rocket fire, the IDF echoed Jerusalem's position, in which it holds the Islamist Hamas, which controls the enclave, responsible for all events transpiring in the Gaza Strip and emanating from it. It is important to note that the Palestinian Islamic Jihad in Gaza vehemently denied its responsibility. The Iranian-backed organization relayed a message to Egyptian intelligence officials in which it emphasized that its leadership remains committed to de-escalation. In tandem, Palestinian sources told TV7 that rogue field operatives belonging to the armed wing of the Islamic Jihad were responsible for the rocket fire over the weekend and that they acted without the authorization of their organization's leadership. Meanwhile, in Jerusalem, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu insisted that Israel's retaliation is a legitimate response to the indiscriminate rocket fire from the Palestinian enclave. During his interim government's weekly cabinet meeting, the Israeli leader reiterated his position, in which Hamas will be held accountable for all attacks that originate from the Gaza Strip.
מיד אחר הירי על עוטף עזה, אני כינסתי את הדיון של צמרת הביטחון בקריה. אני הוריתי על שורה של מטרות שעלינו לתקוף אותם, ואכן חיל האוויר תקף אותם, ובוודאי יכולתם להתרשם מעוצמת התקיפה. צריך להבין שהחמאס נושאת באחריות, מבחינתנו, לכל התקפה שיוצאת משטחה של רצועת עזה.
Netanyahu further noted that while he does not intend to go into details vis-a-vis Jerusalem's security plans, Israel will continue to take action against the enemies of the Jewish state on all fronts.
אנחנו נמצאים בתקופה ביטחונית מאוד רגישה ונפיצה בכמה וכמה זירות, במזרח, בצפון, בדרום. אני לא מתכוון לפרט כאן את התוכניות שלנו, אני כן רוצה לומר שאנחנו נמשיך לפעול בכל הזירות למען ביטחון מדינת ישראל, גם באמצעים גלויים, גם באמצעים סמויים, בים, באוויר וביבשה.
Meanwhile, in Tel Aviv, tens of thousands of Israelis gathered at the city's Rabin Square, where late Israeli Prime Minister and war hero Yitzhak Rabin was murdered in 1995 by an ultra-nationalist Israeli Jew who opposed his interim peace talks with the Palestinians. Speaking to the rally, which marked the 24th anniversary of the heinous murder of the late Israeli leader, former IDF Chief of Staff and Blue and White Chairman Benny Gantz declared that under his leadership, he will strive towards pursuing peace with Israel's neighbors.
השלום תמיד היה חלום ציוני וישראלי. השלום איננו עוד אינטרס ישראלי בלבד, אלא אינטרס משותף למדינות רבות סביבנו המתמודדות עם טירוף הקיצוניים שמסביב.
With regard to the insufferable situation in southern Israel, in which more than 1 million Israeli citizens have faced years of indiscriminate rocket fire from the Gaza Strip, the former military chief vowed to restore deterrence by any means available.
בממשלה שאקים נחזיר את ההרתעה בכל אמצעי שעומד לרשותנו. ראשי החמאס יישאו באחריות אישית, מפקדות החמאס יושמדו, תקופת ההפלגה תתקיים אם לא יהיה שקט מוחלט בדרום. נחזיר את ההרתעה ונדע להילחם, אבל גם נדע לנצל אותה ולהחזיר את התקווה בדיוק כפי שהיה נוהג יצחק לו היה איתנו כאן היום.
Meanwhile, in Gaza City, the Islamist Hamas organization accused Israel of exacerbating the situation by targeting one of its military training installations. According to the Hamas-controlled health ministry, one militant was killed there and 3 others were wounded in the Israeli strike.
العدوان الإسرائيلي الليلة على قطاع غزة الذي أدى إلى سقوط شهداء وجرحى وترويع الأطفال والنساء والآمنين هو جريمة تضاف إلى سلسلة جرائمهم. الاحتلال يتحمل وحده تداعيات مثل هذا الهجوم، والاحتلال يريد أن يسوق أزمته الداخلية على حساب أهلنا، وهذا ما لا نسمح به في المقاومة الفلسطينية.
It is important to mention that the European Union denounced a rocket fire on Israel. An EU spokesperson said that firing rockets at the civilian population was unacceptable and must stop immediately and unconditionally. The EU condemnation against the indiscriminate rocket fire toward the Jewish state joined additional countries from around the world, including the United States. Meanwhile, in Washington, the U.S. State Department released its annual Country Reports on Terrorism 2018, in which, as it has been since 1984, the Islamic Republic of Iran retained its standing as the world's worst state sponsor of terrorism. Introducing the report, the State Department's coordinator on counterterrorism, Ambassador Nathan Sales, highlighted Tehran's expenditure to support terrorist groups that promote the Ayatollah regime's malign influence across the Middle East.
In 2018, the Islamic Republic of Iran retained its standing as the world's worst state sponsor of terrorism, as it has every year since 1984. The regime, often through its Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or IRGC, has spent nearly $1 billion a year to support terrorist groups that serve as its proxies and promote its malign influence around the region. Groups like Hezbollah and Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad.
In addition, Ambassador Sales pointed to the growing threat of Iran's malign activities that is not confined solely to the Middle East, citing bolstered efforts by the Islamic Republic to assert its dominance in the continent of Europe. As such, countering Iran-backed terrorism remains a top priority for the Trump administration. Meanwhile, in Tehran, the Islamic Republic's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, declared that he will not lift his ban on negotiations with the United States, describing the two countries as implacable foes. Speaking to a gathering on the eve of the 40th anniversary of the seizure of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, the supreme Iranian leader emphasized that his persistent refusal projects the Islamic Republic's power and dignity in the face of American efforts to influence the country's nature.
مهمترین پاسخ این بوده که راه نفوذ مجدد سیاسی آمریکا به کشور رو جمهوری اسلامی بسته. منع مذاکره یک کار صرفاً احساساتی نیست، یک منطق محکمی پشتش هست. راه نفوذ دشمن رو میبنده، اقتدار جمهوری اسلامی رو و ابهت جمهوری اسلامی رو به دنیا نشان میده.
Thank you for watching us. Praying for the peace of Israel and the peace of Jerusalem. I'm Jonathan Hassan. Have an Erev Tov and Shavua Tov, and we will see you again tomorrow at the same time.